All right. Good morning, friends out there, and welcome to the Backshed Bible Study, episode 6. It is Monday, May 4th. This is Star Wars Day for some people, or in the Sunrise world, we dedicate it to the May 4th family. And if you are a Sunrise person who has been around over the last 5 years and maybe a little bit of change, you will recognize the guy that is right beside me. Please welcome my friend Nolan Pierce. Nolan.
Yo.
It is so good to see you here.
You too, man.
Oh man, we've been having fun talking over the last few minutes because the brilliant me decided to follow all the instructions on my computer and run updates about 25 minutes ago. And as I saw the updates starting to roll out, it literally said on my computer, 45 minutes remaining.
Yeah, they'll get you good. They get you every time.
Oh man. So fortunately they took about 25 minutes and we got started a little late, but Micah Paul and Mackenzie Paul are on here with you, Nolan.
Cool, man.
And
what's up, guys?
We're gonna have some fun this morning.
I married them. I married those people.
Right. I was there that day.
My first wedding that I ever did. That's pretty cool.
Now, okay, so I have a question for you. Did you remember to mail in the wedding certificate, the marriage certificate?
They're married for sure.
Okay.
I think that I want to say Mackenzie had somebody that was getting everything and doing it.
Was in charge of that.
Yeah, which was nice. I think that's what happened.
Okay, because I have some friends who got married, and I think it was about 12 or 13 years later, they needed a copy of their marriage license. And so they went to the Hall of Records and all of that, and they're like, sorry, we have no record whatsoever of your marriage. And so they go back to the preacher who performed the wedding, and he's like, yeah, I totally forgot to do it, to mail it in, and then when I remembered, I just felt too ashamed to tell you, so I just hoped that it would just kind of pass.
So he knew.
He knew. He totally knew.
That guy is bold.
Right?
That's incredible. 12 years. That's frustrating too, because all your anniversaries, you thought you were going to be married like 20 years. Nope. Start over 8. That's right.
So are you still married in God's eyes?
That's the question, right? Have they lived in sin for 12 years?
If it's not illegal. Oh my goodness. It is so fun to see you, Nolan. Like, for the last few minutes, you and I have been talking about some of the things that you've been up to for the last couple of years. And we're going to talk, kind of the heart of our conversations today is going to be about being a dad and parenting and all of that. But for the fans that are out there that are watching, first off, let me do a proper introduction. This is Nolan Pierce, and Nolan was the Student Ministries Pastor at Sunrise up until about, I'm going to say, right about 3 years ago, maybe a little more than that.
Yeah.
And
2017. Yeah.
And when he and his wife Anna and their newborn Uriah sailed off to return to the East Coast. So tell us what you've been up to since you went out there.
Yeah, a lot of stuff. We had another baby, which was pretty cool. Ezra Hawthorne Pierce. He was born last June, so he's coming up on a year.
Oh my gosh.
Other than that, I started when we moved back here. I worked at my old university, Cairn University, represent.
Right.
And since then, now I work at a marketing company that's like right outside Philadelphia, and that's been really good. And we have a lot of friends that we're real close with here. My parents live still probably like a little bit less than an hour away.
Okay.
So we spend a lot of time.
They're in Joyce?
Joyce, yeah, back home in Joyce.
Okay.
Yeah, you know how it is.
I've been there.
Yeah, that's right. Pretty close, actually.
You're not allowed to pump your own gas in Jersey, are you?
Yeah, no.
No.
That's child's play. Pump your own gas.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, New Jersey. So we don't actually live in New Jersey now, though, which hurts my pride a little bit for how much I talk about it. We live in Pennsylvania. But yeah, we're doing good. We're part of a great little church and doing good stuff, raising kids, figuring out life, all those good things.
the so we were talking about this a little while ago, offline, well, online, just nobody else was watching, privately. And you got back there, you're working for Cairn University, you're doing admissions, right? Like you're, which in a lot of ways, I'm guessing you're talking to prospective students, you're giving them tours, following up with them, and ultimately going to get them to go to your university. What happened? What was it that made that change and caused you to actually leave there and kind of head into a little bit of a different direction?
So my vice president over our department, Tom, really cool guy, cool boss. He just came to me one day and said, he's like, dude, I don't want to tell you this because you're gonna leave, but you should try going into sales. And I swore up and down. I was like, no, won't ever do that. Not gonna do that. People tried to talk to me about that before. No, because I had all these bad stigmas in mind.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, a million things. And actually, it was right around that time, a buddy of mine, Ethan, he's worked for this company. He was trying to recruit me. I think I was telling you this, like, before I moved out to California to get married to Anna, he was like, come check out our company, like apply for this company. You'd like it. It's cool.
Yeah.
So anyway, so he started talking to me again, and I said, all right, fine, I'll apply. And kind of went on the interview thinking I won't do this. But anyway, ended up being a great interview, great company, high integrity, really fun place to work. I have now been to, this is really going to hurt my pride again for how much I talk about my Philadelphia Eagles. I've been to my first Eagles game thanks to that company. So that's, never had been to one before. But
oh man. Yeah. Did the Eagles fly that day?
They did fly that day. And it was quite glorious. Right. As a lot of people would know, they won the Super Bowl since I left. So hope that tastes good to you guys. I was
rooting for your boys that year.
You were texting.
I was a fan of the team, but not necessarily the fans. Is that fair?
Me. Kim Shaw also had texted me. She said our quarterback was cute enough that she would root for him for our team. So that was big.
And she is watching and says hello, by the way.
Oh, Kim, hey, how you doing? Yeah. So yeah, but anyway, ended up interviewing, loved the company. Now I've been there for a few years, and it's just been really nice I have been, like, you think about this, Cliff, I grew up going to a Christian school. Mm-hmm. I went to a Christian college. I interned and pastored at a church before I came to Sunrise. Then I came to Sunrise. It's a lot of stuff.
You're in a lot of Christian world. A lot of Christian world. Out
and have more interaction with other people outside that, and meet non-believers and figure out what relational evangelism looks like. And it's been a good rhythm. And then we've been able to serve in our church a lot of ways that have been, I think, just really good few years for us.
I love it. I love hearing this. I would come back to just go, okay, so you're doing that, and you were telling me you're in a small church, like 80 people or something. So you occasionally get to preach, and I love that what you told me beforehand was that you just told your pastor, hey, if you just need anyone last second Saturday night, give me a call. I'm in.
Yeah.
Now, has that actual thing happened yet?
No, he's usually planned out pretty far ahead of time, which is good. There've been one or two things that was like a week or two before, but he usually lets me know. But it's been cool even to be able to do that and try not to get rusty from the pulpit.
So did any of your friends when you moved back say, hey, California really rubbed off on you and you need to get rid of these habits or anything like that?
They definitely picked up my lack of an accent, which now my Philly, New Jersey accent is starting to come back.
It's back. Okay.
I was actually Skyping with Blake and Brittany Stavnis.
Yeah. Love
and
them.
The first thing he said was, as soon as I started talking, he said, whoa, you sound different. But yeah, I get a little bit of a hard time. New Jersey likes to pretend. It likes to pride ourselves on being pretty tough. And so.
Right.
A tough shake on it. Yeah.
Okay, so I know one of the things that was a little awkward when you got to Sunrise was we hugged a lot.
Yeah, you guys are huggers.
Did you get rid of that habit, or any of that, when you got back there?
I definitely don't hug as much.
Okay.
I'm not uncomfortable with it, but I think a lot of other people here would be uncomfortable with it. So we do more handshakes, except not.
But not right now.
Right.
Okay. So speaking of right now, how's it going? You guys are, um, you're working from home.
Yeah.
You got two young kids at home. How's Anna doing? What's it like balancing the whole household all together? And how are you holding up in the midst of COVID-19?
It's been pretty manageable for us. The house that we're in now, we're going to be moving in about a month, but the house that we're in now is got 3 stories. So the basement is where I work, and
Nice.
so it's quiet. And it's nice for Anna too, because she's stay-at-home mom, so her routine's not that different. She's got 2 kids at home. A little
And
bit
she's,
harder because we can't do parks and stuff, but it's nice that I'm home and
it's
kind of
nice
pop
that you're
off
home.
and
Yeah.
take some breaks with them. So it's been okay for us. We're going a little stir crazy, so we've had to figure out how to do some social distancing approved activities. We've had friends over one time, and we both sat in the trunks of our car a distance away from each other, and we think that was appropriate. But that was good. So yeah, I mean, it's weird, but I think we're going through pretty much what
Yeah.
most people are, and have it about as good as you can through times like this.
Totally.
Yeah.
I think we're all trying to figure this out. I managed to get a whole day of working in my backyard on Saturday, and I know, as much as that sounds like about the lamest thing that you could do, it was so good. I I tore a fence down and rebuilt a section of fence, and accomplished. I felt like I actually accomplished something. So
Yeah, we
I think
recently
I'll.
bought a home that we're moving in soon, and I've been like overwhelmed by thinking I'm gonna have to learn how to do things because I'm not handy and I know my weaknesses. But I've titled certain Saturdays as Dadder Days. That's pretty
Right.
good, right?
Very
Where you're just
nice.
out
Well
there
done.
doing stuff, being productive. So I'm looking forward to figuring stuff out, getting hammered.
You gonna teach Uriah how to mow the lawn?
Yeah, he's got a little toy lawnmower out there. He loves that. So
Perfect.
I'm trying to train him up by 4. I figured you should probably have that down.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I like
Easy.
that.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to do a little piece of business here. We're just going to, you say your name says Anna there, so I'm going to change it to Nolan.
I'm Nolan. Yeah.
There we go. Okay, so let's get into it here a little bit. I want to talk parenting.
Yeah.
What was it? You've been a dad now for almost 3 years, which is amazing. So you became a father when you were 24, if I'm doing my math right. Looking back, how was it for you? How did Uriah coming into your home change you personally?
I probably am going to say all the cliche stuff,
All right, do it by all means.
but it's true. I mean, I think the biggest thing that I'm still seeing constantly is just how selfish I am.
Mm-hmm.
And
I mean, I'm not amening that about you.
yeah, I've always thought you were so selfish.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, the parable where you've got the man who owes a great debt, and he's shown grace, and then he goes and strangles the one who owes him debt.
Right.
I think that's so applicable, because I see all the time where I can get so frustrated with Uriah, and I can be so impatient, and I can hold things against him, and I can just be like, you sent me a few verses what we might talk about exasperating your children, and I thought, like, am I doing that sometimes just out of my own frustration and selfishness? And I thought, what if the Lord did that? So I think that's probably one of the biggest things, is just seeing my flaws coming out in parenting,
Right.
and how I see a child, and knowing that the standards that I fall so much shorter of are just such a worse offense in God's eyes, but he's still gracious with us.
That part blows me away, and it convicts me more than anything. I feel like here's God totally able to handle me when I'm throwing my figurative tantrums, and then my kid, does the exact same thing that I would be doing figuratively. And I'm so much, I lack patience. I mean, I think my next door neighbors probably wonders, like, does that guy ever not yell at his kids? Or they probably think he needs to go back to work.
But yeah, there was an instance, Uriah's got this new habit where the whole long story is he's not staying in bed at all.
Yeah, gotta love that.
Yeah, he gets up, it's 10 o'clock before he's sleeping, and it's a new fun thing. And so the other night he was doing that, and it was all night. It was just
Gosh.
all night, wouldn't
Oh,
sleep. And he's been a great sleeper, but I just was, you just get so tired and mad. And I woke up the next day. Usually I can kind of put the day behind me and wake up the next day fresh. And I
yep.
was just mad. And I didn't want to be near him.
Yep.
And I was upset with him. And I was being a bad dad and all these things. And that verse, actually, Anna and I memorized the verse because it really convicted us. But in Lamentations 3, the steadfast
Oh.
love of God never ceases. His mercies don't come to an end, and they're new each morning.
Did you just plan that? Did you plan that ahead of time?
What do you mean?
That was my sermon yesterday.
Really?
Yeah.
Didn't
Right?
know, but we nailed it. But
Right?
yeah, I thought, in a way, I mean, it's actually a momentary thing, but I wake up each day and God's grace is fresh, and he's
Yep.
not sitting there fuming at me, trying to get back at me, and I do way worse things. And here's a child that's having a hard time sleeping, and I'm like fuming mad. And,
Right? And it's like the poor kid can't communicate completely what they're feeling, what they're thinking, and all that. And in my like momentary lapse of being reasonable, am thinking that kid is out to get me for some reason, like,
Yeah.
why are you, my daughter, who's amazing, who you met a little while ago, she's 2, freshly 2 here about a month ago. And she just decided to stop waking up at 7 or 7:30 and start waking up at 5 or 5:30 every morning, which just grinds at me, obviously. And oh, Micah, the verse reference was Lamentations 3, 23? Is that
22
right
and
around there?
23, I believe.
Yeah. Kim Shaw's commenting as the church right now online. She nailed it. But what was I totally forgot where I was going with it.
Waking up at 5:30, real
Right.
frustrating.
And so I'm frustrated. I'm kind of in my flesh at that moment, and I'm looking at my little girl going, why are you doing this to me? Could you imagine if God did that to me?
Yeah, scary.
That's good stuff. I want to read, there was a comment, one of someone commented here, Margaret did, even worse when your kiddos do or say something embarrassing and you realize that they were mimicking you.
Yeah, it's bad.
Or when I see them just doing something and I'm like, oh gosh, they got it from me.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, Uriah's frustrations and all this. Ezra, he's still in that cute little worm chunk stage where that cry, it's frustrating, but he's more cute than anything. But Uriah is, you see the highs and lows of just such great joy. And that's one of the really amazing redeeming things, I think, is like, there's no relationship I have like that where I can go from being so frustrated and then just be like, yeah, dang, that was real cute.
Right?
You're a cute kid. Just flip the switch so instantly.
How many times have I looked at my little girl and I'm like, it's a good thing you're cute.
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay, so you had Uriah, and like 2 years later, so Uriah's born in June, and 2 years later, Ezra comes in May. He's got a birthday coming up.
Yeah.
Or he's going to be 1. Anything that was different going from having just 1 to now having 2?
Well, I think most of the differences are felt by Anna because she's at home all day. And she's amazing with the kids. So, with 1, it's interesting because with 1, the transition that's so difficult is, oh, we're parents now, and that's night and day. And then with 2, it's, oh, so we're doing this newborn thing again with feeding schedules and nap times and, constant need. And I have Uriah was just 2 at the time.
Yep.
They just started really, really talking, and he needs attention. Needs to be entertained a bit as well. So that's kind of one of the things we've been working on a lot lately is it's interesting how to show both kids the attention that they need and deserve with also not overdoing that. But I don't know. It's just special in its own way. Ezra, we didn't let on this for a lot of people with Uriah because we didn't want to worry people. But when Uriah was born, that was really he was in the NICU for a week, and Anna had to get a blood transfusion. It was pretty tough, pretty traumatic birth process. And Ezra almost came out in the car. She was in labor for a total of 2 hours. So even that, just the beginning of the process was just a whole different experience, and was stressful drive, but allowed us to really go into it with a lot more joy that first couple weeks and stuff, as opposed to fear too. So
Now, did you guys experience any fear ahead of time going into that you'd be experiencing that same kind of thing with Ezra?
yeah, there's only so quick story. Hospitals around here would not let us deliver at their hospital. There was some, because the condition that Uriah had, we didn't realize when he was born, but can be serious and can be repetitive. So some would say if you have a C-section, they'll deliver here, but a lot just didn't want to touch
Right.
Anna, and she wanted to not have a C-section, and so
The
so
VBAC.
that was VBAC. So
Yep.
we had our delivery scheduled in
Two
Philadelphia.
guys sitting here talking about VBACs.
So cool.
Yep.
Anyway, long story short, we were scheduled to deliver in Philly, which is about like 45-minute drive. With rush hour traffic, it's like an hour and a half. And so I get home from work and we were not going to make it. And so we just pulled a total alpha move, and we showed up at a hospital that had already rejected us. And we said, she's having a baby. So this baby's about to come out, and they just had to take her. So we were really scared at first, and especially because people didn't want to treat or deliver, but then it was a really great experience and healthy and in and out. I think we were out of the hospital within like 24 hours, 36 hours. So that was really for Anna, that was a really redeeming thing, because it was really
I
hard for
bet.
her.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah.
Well, now the next one, you can go to that hospital now. They're going to be okay
Yeah.
with you, right?
That's right. Show them the resume. Yeah.
Oh, Lisa Labering, you're awesome. I love it. Two dudes talking about VBACs. This is the
Hey,
best.
Lisa was one of our birth coaches. She did one of our classes when we were getting ready for delivery. So
That's right, up at Kaiser, right?
yeah, we've talked about that a lot with Uriah. She prepped us for that.
Yeah, Lisa rocks. She's actually just right down the street here from me.
Very cool.
Okay, so let's see here. Okay, this is we kind of touched on this, but this was the next thing, is what does being a parent show you, Nolan Pierce, about the character of God?
Yeah, I think I've mentioned some of it. It's sort of a weird dichotomy. You know what I think about a lot is I think about how amazing God's grace is in light of our own failures. But it's also neat because in a way, it sort of makes God's love make a bit more sense. Do you know what I mean? Like in some ways, the Bible, almost the narrative of Scripture, that God would love us though we're just we bring nothing at all.
Right.
And it helps you understand that it's not just an analogy or a word play, but God really sees us as his children. And, there's something inherently special about that relationship.
Right. I mean, there's nothing that child can do to earn your love. I mean, all they're doing, especially as a baby, is just sitting there peeing and pooping and wanting more food. Right.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So how are we like that back to God? Like where we're just kind of demanding. It almost feels like it's a one-way demand that we have of, and even I mean, I think I'm guilty of this so often, is my prayers are so much, I want this, I want this, I want this. And God's sitting there looking at me going, regardless of how much you cry out, regardless of how much you scream, I love you just because you belong to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't have to do a thing. I love you, period. I think that's the thing that's stuck with me so much. And when I look at my kids, as much as they are screaming in the middle, well, only one of them screams in the middle of the night. Every once in a while, another one will come in and wants to jump in bed with us, which you're like, nah, you got your own bed. No, I'm kidding. Well, half kidding. But I think that just blows me away, the unconditional love of God that he would have for us.
Yeah, we've learned, one of the things that it's pointed out to us is our own failures. Like there's been nothing that's drawn me to my knees in prayer and desperation as much as parenting. And there's another verse that we were looking at, because we realized we needed to start memorizing these scriptures, otherwise we're going to be lost. And it says that he's faithful even when we're faithless, because he cannot deny himself.
Yeah.
And I just think, oh man, it makes me so, so deeply grateful for that fact, because I'm so painfully aware at times how in need of the Lord I am, in need of his forgiveness and help and patience and energy and all these things. Like parenting more than anything I've done is like hard is to oversimplify, but it makes you so dependent. I cannot see how you'd be a parent or a parent you'd want to be without the help of the Lord.
Right.
I'm not a good enough person to do that. But the fact that even in my weakest moment of parenting, God is still there because he indwells me with his Holy Spirit. He won't deny me. He's placed his stamp on me. And when I ask for his help, he says, yes,
There you
that's
go.
in his will. That promise is guaranteed to us. When we pray things according to his will, they'll happen. And so I can say, God, I'm being impatient. I need patience. Yes.
Oh, that's good. That's really good. Um, God, oh, this is fun. I'm watching. All of your friends are on here watching, talking.
You got to get on. I got to get on the page so I can see what you're
Right,
saying.
right. You got Elliot and Micah Mackenzie and
Oh, Elliot, my man.
um, okay, so let's see here. I threw some different scriptures on here, and I think the one we talked about it at the beginning, but this one, these two actually, they're both the Apostle Paul talking. One in Colossians, one in Ephesians, and you mentioned it earlier. But fathers, do not embitter your children. This is Colossians 3:21, or they will become discouraged. uh, Ephesians 6, Paul says it like this: fathers, do not exasperate your children. Uh, have you had any moments where you felt like you embittered or exasperated your? I mean, and granted, you got a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, but have you ever experienced times where you see you do something and you see how that gets reflected in them, or that might frustrate them or anything like that? Because I've got like 1,000 examples if you don't have.
Oh, yeah. And I'm not going to try to say that that's always unintentional. You
Right,
know what I mean?
right.
Like I have to admit it. And that's, yeah, I hate that comes out so easily. But those verses, when I read those when I was younger, I was like, dads love their kids. What, and I
Right.
do. But now you see sometimes just this child that you love so much and his life is entrusted to you. And you're like, man, I'm sick of you. Like I need a break for a little bit. And man, examples, probably too many to count, like just things that I just in my own fatigue purposefully like just try to slough off the duties of a father.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, there's so many good things coming up in the comment feed here too. David, I love that you said this, David Kasprick, because he's like, I'm guilty of this on occasion. And you mentioned fatigue, like that's where it gets me. It's usually when I'm down and when I'm tired, and the kid's doing this thing, and and I think, let me insert something else. I think another thing parenting has showed me is that we all are born with a sinful nature, uh, because it shows off my kid's sinful nature. I'm like, how did you automatically know to steal that thing from your brother? Like,
Good.
and do this thing and then have a little sinister smile when you did it.
Yeah.
But it also shows my own sinful nature. Uh, But I love it. Here's our old friend Steve Catolica. He comes back. He's like, it's awesome when God shows up, and then you see him in the kid's reaction to what he leads you to do. Um, Words of wisdom there, Steve.
Yeah.
Um,
Another instance I've been convicted of recently, actually during the quarantine, is like we have a busy schedule, right? I work 9 to 6. I get off, we eat dinner. We finish dinner. We usually go for a walk where Anna and I try to talk a lot and kind of catch up on our day. We put the kids to bed, 7:30, 8 o'clock. Like that's our
yeah.
day. And I've seen there's so many times where I'll go up and have lunch and Uriah is tugging on me. Hey, let's play basketball or whatever. Which, Elliot, I saw your comment about trusting the process. Just don't even talk to me, Elliot. I'm not here for this right now. Please sit down.
I'm
But
sure that's an inside joke.
yeah. but like he wants my attention, And so often I'm finding myself say, yeah, okay, later. And I'm guilty of, I think, at times never delivering on that promise. And to your point, am I doing things that might frustrate my children? I could totally, and it's not intentional, and it's not me not wanting to spend time with him, but to always kick the can down the road and then never deliver on that promise has been something recently I've thought. It's just a very simple, practical. The other night, it was way past his bedtime, but we had gotten back from a walk, and he's going, let's shoot basketball. And at first I go, no. And then I thought, I can take 5 minutes right now and invest in my son and let him know I enjoy him and I care about him and I love him and all these, and it's so simple. So I need to stop being so one track mind. I got to get my things done. I got to accomplish my tasks, and my child needs this right now. So let me give it to him.
Well, and it's amazing how much just something super small like that like is a huge investment. My 12-year-old, who's almost 13, which is really scary.
You say he's almost 13?
Almost 13, July, right?
Man.
And he's a good one though. I'm proud of this kid. But he kept saying over and over, Dad, come play football with me. Dad, come play football. Dad, come play football. And it's just that, just eating at you, wearing away. You're like, okay, fine, I'll come play football. I'll exit the shed and come play football with you. And I go out there and literally we run plays for like 5 minutes. I'm not joking, not even 5 minutes. And April's like, all right, everybody, dinner time. And we come in and we have dinner. And during dinner, we go around and do highs and lows and appreciations. Well, his high is playing football with Dad. His appreciation was to Dad for playing football with him. And I'm like, that was all it took. And not that I should be ever investing my minimum into my son, but this tiny amount just spoke volumes to him. And then if I look at my own relationship with God, that he'll spend all the time ever with me, and I don't have to be like the kid begging him for time.
And he's the creator of the universe. That's the convicting part of it all. He doesn't even owe that to us the same way we owe that to our children, and yet we have it freely as much as supply as we want.
Okay. Let's see. Let's move on to the 1 Peter 5 passage. I like this one because it's a little out of context, but I like how it is. It's not really terribly out of context. But 1 Peter 5, 2 and 3 says, "Be shepherds of God's flock that is under your care, watching over them, not because you must, but because you're willing, as God wants you to be, not pursuing dishonest gain, but eager to serve, not lording it over those entrusted to you, but being examples to the flock." And I think context-wise, Peter's probably writing this a little more towards church leaders. But when he just says, "Be shepherds over God's flock that is under your care," I'm like, my kids are under my care, So what does that look like for us as dads, as moms out there, to kind of shepherd our flocks? And I know you well enough, Nolan, to know that there's not much that you would do that didn't have intention with it. So I don't know, maybe, and I didn't ask you this question ahead of time, but could you kind of bring us in on what are some of the things that you intentionally do to shepherd your kids, to shepherd your family?
I mean, there always should probably be more, but we try to. We've had some friends that actually a lot of people at Sunrise even that have modeled this well for us, but we try to bring back the why of what we do to our children as often as we can, because everybody knows, everybody can think back to this. The most frustrating answer as a child is, because why can't I do this? I
said so.
Yeah, right.
So I'm your parent.
And there's value to that, to teach authority, but even for Uriah, especially to show him, hey, I know it seems silly, but the reason we can't do X, Y, Z right now, the reason I'm asking you to do this thing, or the reason we don't knock those toy blocks on your younger brother's head isn't just because it's a rule. It's because this is how God created us to be. And he created us to reflect him and to love people. And so is that a loving thing to do? But in other words, to not just give rules, but to try to give reasons for those rules. And And it's one of the really cool things was Uriah has he's like such a sweet kid. Like he's just so excited by people and he loves people. He's very emotional. He's very happy and can get very upset very easily. But he started, now that he's like around 3, to experiment with his anger. You know what I mean? Like he'll get
Uh-huh.
mad. I called him give Ezra a nice right hook in the jaw the other day. That was pretty solid.
Oh,
But one of the verses, we've started to have him memorize verses. And it was really cool because one of the verses in James, I think it's James 1:19, says, let every person be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to anger. And there was a time where I could see him angry and he wanted to hit Ezra. I could just see it. You know, you could like
right.
predict the play.
Yep.
And I hear him whisper to himself. He whispers to himself. He goes, slow to anger, slow to
No
anger. 2.5,
way.
you know?
That's
But I
better
thought,
than a Daniel Tiger song,
yeah, it's huge. Those have been great, by the way.
right?
But
I
it's
still use
really
those.
neat, the repetitive nature of those things, to
Yeah.
be able to instill scripture and scriptural truths to people, and to Uriah and Ezra, and show them why we're doing these things. Whether that's a conversation on the couch, whether it's praying before bed, praying
Yeah.
before a meal. I mean, there's a number of different things. He's even started to, now that he's been getting up early too, he'll come down and do time with Jesus with me in the morning and learn to enjoy that. So just trying to craft those things throughout our day, weave them in throughout our day as much as we possibly can.
Yeah.
About you, you're ahead of me. You got some hacks. What are some hacks I need to incorporate here?
Oh man. I think one of the things with our family, I mean, intentionality has been everything, because I everything in me wants to. I mean, I grew up in the world that was because I said so, because I'm your parent. Like that's enough. And and if you don't like what I have to say, let's go out behind the shed. And
Yeah.
but the and I still love my parents for it, but um, a lot of the same that you're mentioning. I mean, we've done a lot of really working at it, explaining the why behind it, and going in. And I'm trying to think, not just in. Oh, okay. This one has been really fun. And this actually leads into what I wanted to talk about next. Is we've been doing a lot of storytelling, and like telling the stories of our past, telling the stories of our life, and whether that's, we put pictures up on the wall, and as you know, we lost our little girl Elise when she was 10 and a half months old. But we have pictures of her around the house, and we talk about her a lot, enough so that the kids all just like, well, that's our sister Elise, even though, and my daughter Audrey sometimes will be like sitting there crying, and you're like, why are you crying? And she's like, I miss Elise. Like, you never even met Elise. How do you miss her? And she's grieving and all this, but it's so much because we've told the story of Elise, and we tell stories about a lot of things, like to the point where my son Titus, who is 8 years old, coming up 9 in September, will be like, Dad, tell me another story about when you were little.
Mm.
And so we've been trying to tell them our stories of growing up, and our our weaknesses, along with the strengths and the things that were just fun memories. But I've found that to be a real fun way to bring them along, in because I want them to see our faith also as something that just isn't something that shows up at church. And we send our kids to a Christian school, and you really want to be careful, and you grew up going to Christian school. You really want to be careful, especially sending kids to a Christian school, that you're not just paying somebody else to tell them about your faith, but that
Mm.
um, and I think a lot of kids that grow up going to Christian schools end up um, getting this false sense of security in what is a real faith, and they also sometimes see teachers that act hypocritically, and don't see a genuine faith being developed there. So I feel like there's been a lot for us that we come back, and like, it's up to us to show them an authentic, real faith, and what it means to follow Christ, and what it means to, this one's been the hardest for me, is to turn around and ask forgiveness from my kids.
Yeah.
when I went too far, when I got angry, when, I shouldn't have said something to mom the way I did, or whatever it is. I Dang it, I've gotten really good at apologizing, unfortunately. Um,
Yeah. That's one of the things as you were talking that I thought's really valuable. I probably should start doing better with is showing an example of humility of, hey, I made a mistake and
yeah,
I'm going to ask for your forgiveness right now. I'm not going to try to play it off or make an excuse
yeah.
or move past that, but for me to stop and show you, hey, I can address when I'm wrong. And that's a valuable thing to be able to do. Um, that storytelling component of that I think is really valuable. I need to do better at that.
Oh, it's so well. Okay, so let's lead into this. We'll close the thing off with this. Joshua 4. I adore this passage in the Bible because it's this moment when Israel has been wandering in the desert for 40 years after they had left Egypt. Um, their Moses has died. Joshua is the one that's going to carry them across the Jordan River into the promised land, and and they cross, and God goes. And so this is Joshua 4, right around verse 20 through 24. It says, and Joshua set up at Gilgal the 12 stones that they had taken out of the Jordan. And this was 12 stones that God had commanded the Israelites, get one representative from each tribe to take a big old rock out of the river and set up this monument. And so verse 21, he said to the Israelites, in the future, when your descendants ask their parents, what do these stones mean? Tell them Israel crossed the Jordan on dry land. For the Lord your God dried up the Jordan before you until you had crossed over. The Lord your God did to the Jordan what he had done to the Red Sea when he dried it up. He did this so all the peoples of the earth might know that the hand of the Lord is powerful, and so that you might always fear the Lord. And so this is like the stories part of, like repeating these stories of God's faithfulness over and over. And God was telling the Israelites, take your grandkids back to this monument that they set up on the side of the Jordan River, and start telling the stories. Um,
Yeah. And I'm looking this up because my memory is failing me, but I believe in the beginning of um, Judges,
oh boy.
when Israel starts to fall, it attributes that to the very fact that the people of Israel did not properly
Right.
tell their children about these stories. And, it makes all the sense in the world, especially living now. We're living after the cross. So until he comes again, like this is what we have, like this, it's
Yeah.
here, we have it right there. And if we're not telling those stories, how do we expect our children to know these things and to come to believe them? And so I like even the physicality of that, especially for children, right? Like the physically having things like we talked about having pictures in your house. We have a little God's faithfulness journal of all these things that are like very obvious answered prayers God's had.
Yeah.
And occasionally we'll get those out with Uriah and
Oh,
kind of
it's
talk
so
through the things
good.
that he's done. But like even a tactile, very central thing that you can't miss, that you're going to be reminded of God's presence, is so valuable. And it's the only way our children will really know these stories richly and deeply. And that's why, some of the ancient traditions they had are so strange, but so beautiful because it forced, like, in fact, side note here, pile of rocks, that's what a cairn is. That's where
That's
Cairn
right.
University
Cairn
derives its name.
University.
But, pile of rocks, okay, well, what's the point? It begs the question of why it's there and
What's
what's
that?
there.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I've thought about that. Well, I've talked about it over and over, and I haven't done it yet, but I've wanted to set up a pile of rocks in my backyard. And every time we see, one of these God-sized things happen, that we go and grab a river rock out of wherever we have them, and let's go set it on the pile, and go and remember where God showed up, where, a God-sized thing happened that was impossible without him. Like,
Yeah.
those are the things I want my kids to remember,
Yeah.
not
And
that I gave them, good ability to be obedient.
something you said before we went on Facebook when we were talking earlier is we were talking about churches and church growth and different things like that. And you said you were reading an article recently that was talking about how a lot of church growth right now is
Yeah.
you can look at it and it's because they've got passionate church leaders, and it's a blessing where some of you guys are at with that. And isn't that true for our families? That's what I'm thinking is
Yep.
it's a hand in hand thing where we've got to have these good structures in place that force some good teaching on us so that things don't slip through the cracks. But like I was sitting here this morning a little bit discouraged actually, because I've had this time in quarantine where I have less busy mornings, less busy evenings because I don't have a commute to work and all that. And I think that my discipline and my time for the Lord has decreased during
Yep.
this time.
Right
the
here.
opposite.
Same right here.
Foolishness, especially in light of what we were talking about earlier, the availability that we have to God. But I just think about that is my family's growth. It is tied directly to my passion for the Lord and my commitment to Him. And so let's look at the gas tank, right? How am I doing there? Am I showing the discipline that's needed at times to develop that passion and authenticity for the Lord? Or am I, kind of to your point about people that grow up in safe environments, am I just leaning on the fact that I was a pastor, I'm a Christian, like, because that'll dry up quick,
That'll dry up
There's all
real quick.
like that.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, I could go on talking about this all day long, but that I don't know that people want to follow along Nolan and Cliff just hanging out on Zoom meeting all day long.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me. How can we be praying for you guys right now?
Oh man. Thanks for asking that. I think probably the biggest thing would be, probably the two biggest things would just be continued grace as parents. Parenting is always hard, and it's one of the things that we talk about the most. And so as a family, we just try to really focus. One of our focuses recently, to be specific, has been how can we as a family be a blessing to other people instead of simply focusing on us. I think that was actually something that stood out to me. That men's conference, who was the speaker there? Josh
McDowell.
Josh McDowell, one of the things he said is if you wake up every day and you pray more for you and your family to be a blessing to other people than you do for your own family to be blessed, you'll live a much more interesting life. So we've been praying that, trying to start think through and pray that a lot more lately, is how can we not just be so inward focused. And then the other thing is we're buying a house. That's like a real practical thing. So we should close in weeks. So pray that that's smooth.
That can be stressful. That can be very stressful. Tell me how moving goes in the middle of a pandemic, right?
Yeah, it should be fun. Hopefully we have lots of help. Everybody can get together inside of the house. Touch the same furniture. That'll be good. Yeah.
We won't even go there.
Probably for the best. We'll wait till we're private until we can do that.
That's right. No, it's I think in all of this it's been really good to go through this season. I think for a lot of us it's reflected. I think it's helped some of us. I know for me, like it's exposed some things. I go, all right, there's some stuff I need to kind of submit to God, from my patience or lack thereof to even gratitude. Like I'm sitting here going, I'm getting frustrated because I'm sitting, in a nice home. I'm able to continue, in the situation I'm in. I'm still able to make money and support my family. I have a lot to be grateful for. So this season's taught me a lot, and then also get the focus off of myself.
Yeah.
On to others. I love that you talk about praying to be a blessing to others, and not just praying for my own needs to be taken care of.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah, I missed this, Cliff. This has been fun,
I know.
man.
Seriously, Nolan, this is really fun, and it's been fun to have a lot of our old friends to join in online here too. But I gotta say it, I was so grateful that we got to have you at Sunrise for the amount of time that we did, and I think God chose you to fill a gap that was a tough gap that had to be filled, and you were the absolute right man for the right time there.
Well, thanks, Cliff. We have super, super, super fond memories of being there. We're so thankful. We talk about it often, different aspects of our time there and how grateful we were, and Rooted and U-Turn, and all our friends at Main Service and Mexico trips and all this stuff. So it was an incredible time. Really, really awesome way to launch our family into our first few stages. So we're so grateful for it. We have only fond memories of it.
Well, you are loved and adored here, and I got to tell you, one of the things that um, over time, when different pastors leave churches and things like that, some leave really well, some don't, and I got to tell you, you left well, and you left a great imprint on us and on our students, and uh, you're absolutely missed, and will always be. Even I think one of my favorite things with you. This was weird, but there was that season when poor Derek had that ski accident, and
Yeah.
with the hip injury, and you and I and Greg and Derek eventually came back into it, and we were working on this teaching team, and that was just one of the funnest things together, to sit with you and in them in a room and plan out sermon series and
Yeah. That
dig
was a
through
good time.
scriptures, and I love how you think. um, I think
Yeah.
one of the best things I learned from you, you're like, I'm all about, like, let's put an idea and everything on out there, and let's try to shoot a bunch of holes into it. And if it still stands up, then we go with it.
That's right, baby. That's what you do.
That's what I learned from you.
Anna hates that about me, but it works. She always thinks I'm just shooting down her ideas, and then she's like, "Oh man," and then I'm like,
No,
"Yeah."
he is
So that's a
supportive.
great idea.
Hey, well, let me pray to close this off. We're almost hitting the 11 o'clock hour here on the east. Where are we? We're on the West Coast.
Yeah,
I have forgotten what day, what time, what month
that's
it
fine.
is. I've been joking that this is like March 95th or something like that. Uh,
Feels like it.
but let me take a second and pray for you guys, and we'll kind of close our time here.
Awesome.
Father, I thank you so much for my old friend Nolan, and what a blessing this morning has been, spending time with him. And I do pray for him and Anna, and the boys, and eventually probably a larger family. But I just pray, Lord, that they would be able to see how they can be a blessing to others, that they would be able to sense your spirit leading in their lives, that they would know you intimately. Um, Father, that you would give them grace as parents, for Nolan and Anna, um, and I just pray that you would raise up some giants in the faith in these boys, Lord, in Uriah and Ezra. Um, Please, Father, give them grace in this move coming up, as they move into a new house and get to know a new neighborhood and a new community, and give Nolan strength in his job and passion for you and everything he does, Lord. And again, I just am so grateful that you gave us this time together this morning. In the name of Jesus, amen.
Thanks, Cliff. This was fun, man. God bless you
Oh,
guys.
thank
You
you.
guys.
Just Greg Twing jumped on just now and talking
Hey,
about how
Greg.
much he misses you. And Margaret, it was good to have you on here this morning. Sherry, good to have you. By the way, Sherry, I did get your email. I'm going to respond to that today. And hey, this is way better than doing email. I should just have
That's
everyone
right.
join me on a meeting. Um, and a lot of things going on, but super blessed and loved having you all join us there for Backshed Bible Study. We want to let you know that we will be here at 2:00 Wednesday afternoon for Pastors Live. If you haven't been a part of that before, you like my radio voice?
That's great. That's
Yeah,
really
we'll
good.
keep going. If you haven't been able to join us for Pastors Live yet, we get all of our pastors together in a Zoom meeting and give you a little backstage view of things going on at Sunrise. It's a lot of fun and very unscripted. So we'd love to have you there Wednesday afternoon at 2:00. We have the Luke Miller podcast debuts every week on Thursday at 2:00. And would love to have some of you join us, if you would be willing, on Thursday afternoon at 3:30. We have our weekly prayer time. We get on Zoom together. You can get the invitation out of the e-news, which you should have received this last week. And that's at 3:30 Thursday afternoon. And we just pray for the greater needs within the church and individuals. It's a really neat time together. So Sunrise, we love you. We're grateful for you and encouraged by how God is continuing to work. And if you all didn't see it, we still don't know, in the update I sent out this last week, we're still not knowing when we're going to be getting back together as a physically as a church family, but it will happen. Be praying for our transition team, or what we're calling our relaunch team, that starts up this week as they put together that strategy of what it looks like to relaunch Sunrise meeting in person. So all of those great things. What a good time this morning. Nolan, thank you very much.
Thanks, Cliff.
And with that, I'm going to push a little button in the upper left-hand corner here, and that is going to shut things down. We'll see you guys later. Have a great week.